folks. So if you have a shiny IoT thing, you might want to have an API backing it up or backing it up, either way. So I want to show you how to make an API very, very quickly, almost too quickly, with Loopback, which is an open source framework to make APIs with Node that is sponsored by IBM. So it really is just way too simple. So I have already installed the Loopback CLI, which is an NPM module. So I'm going to create a new app by typing lb app. Can everybody see it on the screen? Can we maybe get the lights down a little bit so folks can see? Huh? Oh, I'll make it bigger? How big can it go? All right. If you can't see it or need it to be bigger, can you wave your arms? Are we good? All right. It literally takes longer to change the font than it does to make an API. So a little bit of already done stuff is I've already installed Loopback CLI, and I have Mongo running on this laptop, and it has a data set of more than 200,000 Jeopardy questions that some dude scraped and posted on Reddit, which is the most grateful I have ever been to any dude on Reddit, I can tell you that. So, LB app, what's the name of my application? Let's just call it, demo. And I'll put it in that directory. There are two versions of Loopback active right now, the long-term and the current, so I'm going to use the current. I'm going to make an empty server, which is an API without any configured models or data sources or auth, right? And the friendly wombats at NPM are going to download a bunch of stuff for me. And now this is the absolute trickiest part of doing this. You actually have to change into that directory. Otherwise shit does not work. So you can see that it has generated a bunch of stuff for me, including a client folder and a server folder, a package.json, and a node modules folder. So now that I have the scaffolding of the app, you can think of Loopback as like a three-legged stool. It needs three parts. It needs this app scaffolding, it needs a data source, and it needs a model. And so the second leg of this stool is going to be the data source. So I already have Mongo running, so I'm just going to call it Mongo. Now, Loopback works with just about any database that you care to name. Some of these databases are officially supported by IBM, and some of them are community databases. But you can just see CloudEnt, Cassandra, Redis, Mongo, MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, REST. You can use it as a proxy for other services, Couchbase, Kafka, Elasticsearch. And for some reason, IBM's DB2 is also supported. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Mongo. And, how many people here use a clipboard manager? Anybody? Just one?
Everybody should use a clipboard.
Everybody should use a clipboard manager.
Change your life.
It will change your life. So I usually have in my clipboard manager the connection string for my test database. So now I don't have to type this really awkward string. I use the clipboard manager, copy and paste. I have to pay for it. I like to pay for software sometimes because then I think somebody will pay me to write software. It's like the software circle of life. This one's called copy and paste, but there's clipboard managers all over the App Store and downloadable. They will save you hours of typing and a lifetime of repetitive strain disorders. So I'm just going to use the connection string to get to Mongo, which means that I can just return through all this other information that's included in the connection string. And now Loopback and the friendly wombats will just install the connector for the data source I picked. It will not install the connector for DB2 on your device unless you ask it to. All right, so that went pretty well. So now that I have an app and a data source, I'm going to add a model. So this is a database of Jeopardy questions. So I'm going to call it Jeopardy question. Actually, typing Jeopardy is the other most difficult part of doing this demo. I'm going to select the model, the data source that we just created. And I'm going to use a persisted model, even though I'm not planning to write any new questions. I just like having the option to save things if I'd like. And I'm going to definitely expose it as an API. It doesn't need a custom plural. I'm going to actually make a common model, which means it's also available to any front-end code. But honestly, I will never write any front-end code. So this is just wishful thinking on my part. So Jeopardy questions have a couple of different properties, including a question property, which is a string, and it's required, has no default value. And they also have answers, which are also strings and also required. This data set actually has more properties, but these are the only 2 ones that we need for now. Okay, so if the demo gods have smiled upon me, I now have a working full CRUD API on this database. So let's check it out. And I do. As you can see, here's the demo. Here are all the endpoints that are automatically generated against that data that is in my local Mongo. So let's just, it's pretty fast, right? This is scary. People should not be able to do this. Man was not intended to make APIs this fast, honestly. So you can see that if I hit try it out, I get a question. I'm not going to choose get all because that will load all 200,000 questions. But as you can see, I can show you that I actually do have 200,000 plus questions by getting the count endpoint. And yeah, 216,930 Jeopardy questions available in this database. So the loopback documentation is actually pretty good. In addition to these automatically generated endpoints, you can write custom endpoints. You can add user authentication. You can proxy other APIs. Basically, it does everything but wake you up in the morning and make you eggs. So if you have questions about loopback, I am also a mentor. I'm just not a T-shirt person. So feel free to ask me questions. I'm more than happy to help people use this. So thanks so much. Have fun.